Good evening, you're watching NTV Weekend Edition, and I certainly hope you've had a reinvigorating Sunday. My name is Burrows.
And I'm Okari.
Here's what we have lined up for you.
Tonight, stirring the pot of gold.
Wakatuambia hapo katikati ati wataenda Canaan yenyewe ikawa ya bandia. Saa hii watu wanauza gold.
NTV Weekend Edition with Okari and Burrows.
A very good evening and thank you for joining us in this news broadcast. Our sign language presenter tonight is David Gondoa. Tonight, detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations are hunting a man who runs a charter flight business at the Wilson Airport and who has been linked to the fake gold trade.
This even as the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, directed the Police Inspector General to fast-track investigations into the illicit trade that has dragged in top politicians and forward the findings within 7 days.
We've been following this story the whole of last week, and this week we expect more to come. There are more arrests that are likely going to be done this week as they still look for more suspects who are involved in this fake gold scam. We've been reading a lot about this online, and there is audio that has been also leaked on social media, which the DPP also talked about.
Yes,
and
cautioned against publishing.
That people are careful not to share it publicly until they fully investigate and find out if the voice is authentic or not. So we're going to be following this and wait to find out what happens. But let's move on to another story as we wait for that one. The fake gold scam is the new front line in the political battle between Deputy President William Ruto, his supporters, and those of ODM leader Raila Odinga.
Ruto and his allies today hit out at Odinga, saying he had sullied the country's name over his involvement in the gold scam. Odinga's allies, however, hit back, saying leaders should leave him out of it as he's not involved. Zacchaeus
Musame reports.
Deputy President William Ruto, who was in the company of several leaders, was in Bumula constituency, where he sustained his assault on ODM leader Raila Odinga, who has been dragged into the fake gold scam. He spoke at a church service at Mwanda Catholic Church before presiding over a fundraiser for several women groups at Mwanda Primary School.
Wakatuambia hapo katikati ati wataenda Canaan yenyewe ikawa ya bandia. Saa hii ati wanauza gold, hiyo gold pia ni ya bandia. Sasa hawa watu tunawajua. Hata hakuna haja ya kusumbuana na watu. Watu wanajua ni nani watu wa kuendesha, ni nani conme.
Tunataka TPP. Tunataka DCI bila uoga, bila upendeleo yoyote. Wawe tunataka kuona kesho ama kesho kutwa wale walienda kuiba pesa huko Uarabuni kwamba wanapeleka gold ya uongo, wao wamewekwa pingo.
Vile polisi wanawakamata hapa Mwanda wale vijana ambao wamekunywa busa ya kutemeza damu mwilini, vile vile wamekamata Raila Odinga kwa kuuza fake gold.
Raila Odinga alikuwa na Moi, akajaribu kunyang'anya serikali ya Moi na kifua, hakuweza. Raila Odinga akakuja akangangana na Kibaki, akafuruka huyo mzee miaka 10.
But Odinga's allies, led by Homa Bay Women Rep Gladys Wanga, asked politicians to leave the ODM leader out of it.
Wameanza sasa kuleta jina ya Raila Odinga, jina ya president na jina ya CS Matiang'i katika hili jambo la dhahabu ama fake gold. Tunataka kuambia kwamba Wakenya wanaweza soma na wanaweza ona.
The leaders called for investigations into the fake gold scam, even as they rallied behind the DP's 2022 bid.
And I know Wetangula will run for president. He has told me. Mudavadi will run for president. He has told me. Lakini nikawaambia kabla tuende huko tutafute njia. It is not enough to want to go to Nairobi when you don't know how you're going to go there.
Zacchaeus Masame, NTV, Bungoma.
Staying with the gold story, tonight detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations are hunting down a man who runs a charter flight business at the Wilson Airport and who has been linked to the fake gold trade.
This even as the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, directed the Police Inspector General of Police to fast-track investigations into the illicit trade that has dragged in top politicians and forward the findings within 7 days.
The wanted man is a Kenyan national and is believed to have been directly involved in the fake gold scam through his charter flight business based at Wilson Airport. Detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations reportedly raided his premises at Wilson on Friday, but were unable to find him. Sources close to the investigation say the probe has narrowed down to 6 suspected masterminds of the fake gold scandal that involves the Dubai royal family. It is alleged that operatives within the fake gold syndicate told the United Arab Emirates royal family representative that the consignment would leave the Democratic Republic of Congo bearing United Nations stamps for easier entry into Kenya. It has also emerged that the cargo bearing large quantities of gold was to arrive at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport via Uganda before reaching its final destination in the UAE. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations has less than a week to complete its investigations and forward its finding to the Director of Public Prosecution, Nuruddin Haji, who will either prefer or drop charges against 16 suspects arrested so far, including businessman Jared Otieno. In a statement, the DPP asked Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai to fast-track investigations that have taken on a political dimension. Kakamega Senator Moses Wetangula, who has also been linked to the scam, is said to be away in Hong Kong on official duty. Politician Zahir Janda, whose name featured prominently in the scandal, denied his involvement and is yet to be questioned. The court ordered that 16 who had been arrested be detained for 7 days to allow more time for investigations. They will be presented in court again this week. Seth Olale, NTV.
Well, in another developing story, leaders have faulted the arrest of Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala, who was detained on suspicion of fanning the flames of violence in Matungu in Kakamega.
Senator James Orengo and other leaders say police got it wrong by rounding them up before investigations into the causes of insecurity there are complete.
4 more suspects linked to the killings in Matungu were arrested in Busia and will be arraigned tomorrow.
NTV's Brenda Wanga reports.
2 nights after his arrest, the Kakamega senator was allowed visitors at the Kisumu Central Police Station. Malala was amongst a number of politicians who were rounded up on Friday as the crackdown on the killings in Matungu, Kakamega intensified. The senator's defenders are now questioning the rationale behind his arrest.
Cleophas Malala demanded a question from the Ministry of Interior through the chair of the Senate Committee in charge of national security to issue a statement on the occurrences in Matungu. Things have turned around to the extent that the person who was demanding for justice for the people of Matungu has now been locked up for the concerns he had raised in relation to the violence and the killings in Matungu.
The senator further says it was wrong for the police to effect the arrest while investigations were incomplete.
This arrest is malicious, without a foundation.
Orengo's sentiments are echoed by a cross-section of political leaders who are now linking the arrest to political games.
You don't just arrest people based on rumors. The world is not built on rumors.
What is happening here is somebody is trying to make a political statement.
We hope that this process will not turn into a circus there is an ending.
Other leaders also faulted the state security agencies for sleeping on the job while insecurity prevailed in the county.
Kwani hakuna uchasusi Kenya hii? What's the use of DCI office here? Mpaka minister huko ndio aende Matiang'i aende, ndio sasa watu wanaamuka na kusema kwamba waje tuone kwamba Matiang'i amefanya kazi. Na hiyo watu watapelekwa Monday. Hii ni kuangaisha hawa watu. Viongozi kuangaisha tu walale ndani, Monday wapelekwe, alafu waangaishie mambo ya kupewa bond.
The crackdown on the politicians suspected of having links to the spree of violence comes after the CS for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, visited the area last week and ordered the start of an operation aimed at weeding out the criminal elements. Aside from the senator, a former CS Rashid Echesa, an MP and an MCA have also been arrested, amongst others suspected of being involved in the gruesome killings. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
There appears to be some drama outside the Kisumu Central Police Station where the Kakamega Senator is being held. We will be joining Oko Kusa for a live link on location shortly.
Well, let's move on as the state tightened its grip on leaders it suspects are behind the Matungu killings. Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, in the meantime, claims former Sport Cabinet Secretary Rashid Echesa, who was among those detained, was being persecuted over his support for Deputy President William Ruto.
He spoke at the Nandi Hills Police Station where Echesa is being held.
We have also tried to cross-check why he's being charged upon, but charges that have been facing Rashid Echesa has not been clearly set out. And I believe maybe today, by tomorrow as they move to High Court, we expect the charges that are being charged against our Sports Cabinet Secretary Rashid Echesa to ensure that they fast track. And we hope the cases, these cases will be concluded in no time, so that all of us can know where the truth is.
Let's switch focus to matters education, and as the ministry and the Kenya Union of Teachers hold their uncompromising positions on the new competence-based curriculum, there have been independent voices calling on the government to take a step back and listen to the concerns raised about the new curriculum, as the tough talk will only complicate the reforms further.
Sharon Baranga spoke to and heard from the voices of reason, some of who say the process is being rushed and that the country would need more time to be ready for the change. NTV's education reporter Sharon Baranga with the story.
Last week, the public was treated to a tug of war between the Ministry of Education and the Kenya National Union of Teachers over the competency-based curriculum.
What the hell do you want, and who the hell do you think you are to be saying that nothing is going on?
If you want war with us, we are prepared to go the full length. If you are ready.
Both sides still maintain their hardline positions.
We are not going to teach CBC anymore in our classrooms.
And in what is an indicator that the government will not backpedal, the Ministry of Education has put together a 9-member committee to prepare for August's conference on the implementation of the CBC. Independent observers now say the back and forth will only serve to hurt Kenyan learners.
When the Cabinet Secretary steps out of the steps of KICD and says that there are 15 points that demonstrate that the country is not ready for rolling out a curriculum, and within 1 week she says that pilot will have to continue, and then within another 1 week she declares that rollout is ready, it raises a lot of fundamental issues on what exactly happened within those 14 days.
Last week, the Ministry of Education launched the National Curriculum Policy, which the biggest teachers' union in the country says it is illegal.
What is the difference between the so-called curriculum policy and what you're calling the sessional paper? If you took your car to a garage and a mechanic tells you that I've repaired your vehicle with 90% confidence, you can get going. And along the way, if you face problems, call me. I'm 100% sure that most of us who drive will not be comfortable to take that car.
The implementation of the new curriculum is now down to the supremacy contest between the government and teachers.
There are very many good things in this curriculum which should be implemented instant. And one of them will be the methodology of teaching. This doesn't need a shift in the system. We are talking about 3 years from now. We need to have junior secondary schools. Well, answer the ministry tells you, we are going to convert all primary schools into junior secondary schools. But look at the status of those primary schools. Are you sure they will give us the kind of quality that we need? So when I talk of 10 years, is it ambitious? It is not ambitious. We are basically talking about 2028, 2029.
So which way for the Kenyan learner?
Should we give all children all the education? Should we give some children all the education? Or should we give all the children some education? These are three fundamental questions that we need to address. And if we're really able to address them, then I think we'll be able to design an education that can work for all the children.
The leadership of the Kenya National Union of Teachers directed its members to stick to the outcome-based curriculum while teaching in class. The government, on the other hand, insists that teachers have been trained and that they should use the competency-based curriculum. The stalemate between the two key stakeholders could be a recipe for disaster in the education sector. Sharon Baranga, NTV, Nairobi.
Reversing gears a little bit, earlier reports said that 3 leaders detained over the Matungu killings were to be released tonight, but that hasn't happened.
Well, outside the Kisumu Central Police Station, where the Kakamega senator is being held, his supporters had started to stir up some trouble.
And we saw a bit of that trouble a bit earlier, Ukoku. So we saw tear gas, people running. What was happening exactly?
Yes, Olive, what is happening here is that supporters of the Kakamega senator, that is Cleophas Malala, have been camping here at the Central Police Station in Kisumu, trying to cause some disturbance, demanding actually that the senator should be released. This has been going on for the last 2 hours, and just a while ago, a contingent of anti-riot police stepped in and lobbed those tear gas canisters that you witnessed a while ago here, trying to disperse that crowd that was actually singing right inside the police station, which is behind there, trying to demand that the senator should be released unconditionally. We are made to understand that some of the leaders who were arrested alongside the senator, that is the former Minister CS for Sports, Rashid Echesha, was earlier on released at Nandi Hills police station, and the same happened to the Mayoni ward, a member of county assembly, that is Lebinus Oduori. And so the supporters of Malala here are also demanding that the senator should also be released unconditionally. So that is what has been going on here since 7 o'clock. And there has been a lot of stampede here and there. Earlier on, we saw the same contingent of police officers came here and tried to disperse the crowd, but they remain adamant. The supporters of the senator remain adamant that they are not moving an inch, and that is what has prompted this particular attack that has happened just a while ago, where some tear gas canisters have been lobbed into the crowd to disperse them. So we are still camping outside here, waiting for the senator to be released. We don't know when that is going to happen. We have seen a lot of people moving in there, including his father, his lawyer, who happens to be his uncle, and a host of members of his family and friends and close friends moving in and out of the police station, trying to secure his release. So we really don't know what is happening. We've been kept outside. Actually, police don't want us to move next to the police station. And so the stalemate continues, and we'll be here to keep our viewers posted.
Thank you. Also, as Oko Kusa said, he remains on that story. But there is a statement that has come from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Dennis, could you take us through the first part?
The DPP says that his attention has been drawn to reports that are appearing in the print and electronic media to the effect that the named persons have been arrested and placed in police custody pending arraignment before court. That is tomorrow, over the Matungu murder incidents. And he says that after his discussion with the Inspector General of Police, it is clear that the investigations are at an advanced stage but incomplete.
All right. And he says on account of that, he has directed that the suspects be forthwith released pending the said investigations and report back to the police on Monday, the 20th at 10 a.m. without fail. Meanwhile, he's advised them to keep the peace and cooperate with the law enforcement agencies. I'll repeat that again. He says he has directed that the suspects be forthwith released pending the said investigations and report back to the police tomorrow, that is Monday, the 20th at 10 a.m. without fail.
Well, we're definitely keeping tabs on this story and we'll keep you updated as soon as we get more reports. This is the very latest. Well, let's move on now to a different story. For the tens of thousands of children who, for one reason or another, do not have the privilege of growing up in a biological family setup, placement in alternative family care gives them an opportunity to live a normal life.
Such was the case for two minors, one who was placed with an American couple and another with a Kenyan couple. But after years of custody battles in and out of the courts, the government has withdrawn these two minors from their alternative families. Why did the government take them back?
Well, NTV Investigates has been following the cases and now reveals the gaps in the adoption laws and a system marked by irregularities and insincerity at every step, where police, the Children's Department, the judiciary, lawyers and children's homes flout the provisions of the Children's Act on alternative care.
Here is NTV's investigative reporter Edmond Nyabola with the first part of tonight's special report, Court to Court.
We have received a tip-off about a rescue operation by the DCI Child Protection Unit and the State Department for Social Protection involving a 3-year-old boy who is under the custody, guardianship of an American couple. Now the DCI detectives are going to take back the child, and we are trailing them right now to understand what this is about.
The detectives have allowed us to film on condition that we conceal their identity.
Hi. Good. What's going on? What is up, Sorry. No, where are you coming in? Excuse me, what is this? Why are you here? You're not going anywhere. Madam.
Absolutely happy to let you see the child, to do whatever you need to do, but that would come through a court order. That would come from the court saying we have a concern. So if there is a concern and the court has said there's a concern and that's documented, then we will do whatever the court asks us to do.
You don't want to use any force?
Of course.
But whichever way, you want to see the kid.
Of course.
You are going to show the child.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
But why can't we ask our attorney if this is within the law? Why can't we speak to our attorney to see if this is within the law?
We're very happy.
We're willing to cooperate, but I would like to let my attorney know and make sure that he's here to make sure everything that's happening is within the law.
We are talking about somebody that is not here. Let us see him.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But you have, have you, so we have just established that you are the hands and the feet of the court.
While this was going on, notice the authorities forming a ring around the couple.
Excuse me, did you just take him? Yes, you've taken him? Are you kidding me? They've just taken Keanu. They've taken him right now.
That's the law.
It is not the law. You have literally taken him. You have literally you're kidnapping a child right now. You are kidnapping a child. Yes, you are going against a court order. She's calling for help because you're literally kidnapping a child.
I see your papers? Bring your passport.
You know, sir, I can't.
Bring your passport. Go bring your passport.
Sir,
well, sit down and shut up. Okay.
The child had been whisked away. It was so swift that even we missed it.
I want to see your passport.
We trailed the car carrying baby Jonathan, whose real name and identity we have concealed due to the sensitivity of the matter. We find him under the care of government social workers, completely oblivious of what is going on. Only a week before this, the team had carried out another rescue operation within the city. At the center of this was another boy, aged 4.5. Baby Edward, whose real name and identity we have also concealed, is reunited with his parent and grandparents soon after. The anxiety from the events of the day and being around strangers is overwhelming. The mother, Monica Kawira, is overcome by emotion. It's been almost 4 years since she last held her son.
Thank you. Yes.
We find the adoptive parents of baby Edward and the guardians of baby Jonathan days after the operations. They are still in shock and distraught from the harrowing experience.
I heard some commotion in the house and I went and checked. And there were men and women, and there were 2 men holding guns. So you can imagine my shock. My elder son came, the younger one didn't. So I got worried and I went downstairs looking for him because I kept calling and he wasn't coming. I went outside and that's when I saw there were 3 cars parked outside. In one of the cars, he was inside. He had been bundled in a blanket. And he was looking at me scared, because I know his look when he's scared. And this was 100 times what I've seen before.
Hey, good. What's going on? Police officers. Sorry. No, where are you coming in? You're coming.
I was shocked when I saw all these people, and I was hugely threatening to see all these people suddenly in your living room. Yeah. They don't look like police officers. They've got head coverings, the women are wearing scarves, some of the men are wearing hats and visors, and they're not telling us who they are and what they want. They're just telling us to sit down. And I said to them, I need to call my attorney. And they said, you're not calling anyone, sit down.
NTV Investigates set out on a fact-finding mission on what exactly transpired in the cases of baby Jonathan and Edward. Kiambu town, 16 kilometers from the capital. The police station is our first stop in the search of records pointing to the origin of baby Jonathan. We find OB number 16 of 12th January 2016, which reads, the Kirigiti Assistant Chief Stanley Gikwa phone number reported on 12th January 2016 that he was called by a Good Samaritan to report a case of child abandonment inside Rowe Forest. We find the Assistant Chief, who directs us to the location of the abandonment.
It was in this bush. They were wrapped in a green polythene bag.
The 2 of them?
The 2 of them.
Were they clothed?
They were not clothed, okay. But the one who was under had bruises on his arm. Yes, we found them and we talked to the ladies who gave towels, and they were wrapped in them. And from there, I handed them to the police officers in the company of 2 area ladies.
Okay. What, in your assessment, was the age, approximately? How old were they at the time they were found?
I think it was 1 day old.
Baby Jonathan survived, but his twin brother did not.
Upon the release of the child from the Kiambu District Hospital in early February or January 2016 thereabout, the child was committed to this children's home referred to as John Pity Children's Home by the Kiambu Children's Department. Now, it is also on record that a woman by the name Gathoni Hamilton Kirima would come here and take the child from the home and take him home with her, and that this woman is actually related to Daisy Machonchini, and that Daisy got to know about the child around the same time this was happening. And therefore, the Children's Department in Kiambu got concerned about the manner in which the child was being taken from this children's home to a different home without official documentation, without an official custody arrangement. This children's officer by the name Rachel filed a petition in court seeking that the child be taken from this home and be committed to a different home for the sake of his safety, coming from those concerns.
Details are scanty on how Bishop Gathoni Kirima often took the child from Jean Petit home and how, together with Daisy, they related with the child. This PNC Order 66 from the Kiambu Court, dated 18th November 2016, committed baby Jonathan to Mogra Children's Home in Kasarani Sub-County for a period of 6 months. Back to baby Edward. 18th May 2014 in Kibera, Soweto. A woman by the name Monica Kawira is arrested alongside her 1-week-old baby and taken to the high-rise AP camp on a suspected case of child neglect. She and her child are later brought to Kilimani police station and placed in custody. Here we find 2 OB reports concerning Monica and her child. OB 91 of 18th May 2014 reads, Monica Kawira Kinoti is escorted from high-rise AP camp for the offense of child neglect after she was arrested by one Agnes, assisted by the public. All now placed in cells while appearing fit. Another OB, number 45, recorded on 19th May 2019, reads, I, Police Constable Pauline Tundu, do now hand over a child 2 weeks old whose mother is in custody under the instruction of Inspector Mambo to New Life Home Trust since the child is in need of care and protection. The mother was still in custody, and that was the last time she saw her child. She would later be charged in court and jailed for 7 months for the offense of child neglect, and baby Edward offered for adoption. We find Kawira on the day of her reunion with her child on March 30th, 2019. Her accounts of the arrest refutes the police's accusation of neglect.
Polisi walikutoa wapi? Kwa nyumba yangu niliambiwa nifungue juu nilikuwa nimemwacha kidogo niende ninunue dawa. Kwa hivyo hizo sekunde ndogo za kwenda kununua dawa ndio wamama walifahamia. Fungua, toa mtoto. Mmoja akachukua wakanipeleka. Sasa kwenda station nikapewa mtoto. Kulala hiyo siku, kesho yake wakachukua. Halafu nikapelekwa Lang'ata. Sasa kutoka Lang'ata si ndio sasa nilipatana na hiyo maneno. Sijarudishiwa mtoto, nimeenda kotini. Nikiuliza naambiwa hakuna mtoto, huwezi kosa kuendelea na hiyo kesi sababu ya mtoto. Sasa ikakaa hivyo mpaka nikaachiliwa, nikafungwa under probation. Nikakuja nyumbani.
And just like that, Monica Kawira had lost a second child on charges of neglect and abandonment. Another of baby Edward's 7 siblings, also in this video, had been offered for adoption by the same institutions that handled baby Edward. The child was to be adopted by a foreign couple who later opted out upon realizing that the parents existed and wanted their child back. This was despite being allowed to adopt by the court. Back to baby Jonathan at Mogra Children's Home. We find John and Hannah Njoroge, the founders and directors, and Simon Karugu, the operations manager.
So we are following up on this case about the baby who was put under...
They pull out all their documentation regarding the minor. Daisy's interest in the child, they say, did not end at Jean Petit. She followed him here, having had a special attachment to him.
So initially, after admitting the kid here, and after the kid getting sick and being admitted to Gertrude, and we asked for the medical history, she really helped us. And of course, the kid was admitted in the hospital. And after being admitted in the hospital, she paid for the bill, which was amounting to 1.5 million. And so she started volunteering in the institution. So that's the moment she knew where the kid was. So after some time I cannot be able to confirm for now, she came and told us it's good for her to stay with the kid so that she can be able to do, if there's an emergency, she can rush her to hospital, that is Gertrude. We decided we can give out the kid to Daisy, she can stay with the kid with accompaniment of our social worker. With time, she came and reported to us. She told us a husband is coming from abroad and now they need a free area in their privacy. So she opted that Sarah, our social worker, should come back to the children's center. So we told her we cannot let the kid go without anyone accompanying on our side. And the children department advised us, that's Mr. Umbasa, that we can give the foster care. So after doing the inspection, we filled the form, and the form initially was filled between Mogra and the senior chief, the area chief, and the children department, of which they are supposed to be signed in triplicate.
What were the provisions of this foster care agreement? How long was it supposed to take? What were the rules of engagement in it?
He was given the foster care for 3 months. But in between, the kid is supposed to be brought in the children's center for monitoring and evaluation. But along the way, after 1 month was over, we started calling Daisy and asking her to bring the kid back. That woman, she did not pick her phone. So we did a mail.
In the email, Mogra writes, "Just to reiterate the importance of keeping the home in the loop regarding the minor. The child is under your foster, but is committed to Mogra. If anything happens, it is us who will be held responsible." To which Daisy responded, "So sorry for the delay. I have been very busy with a visitor. I will get back to you this weekend." After a few exchanges, Daisy told Mogra to engage her lawyer instead. Then she went quiet.
We go to the Children Protection Unit, which is in South B. And there we met Madam Grace, who was assigned as some officers, was Madam Evelyn and Madam Margaret, and we did our statement. They realized that Daisy is not in Nairobi, because we had already gone to Daisy's place when we were reporting, and we saw that we were told she had vacated, or she's no longer there. So they told us the best thing we can do, we can look for the signal, the number we gave, and they realized that this signal is being found in Diani. So we decided on a coming day we should be traveling to Mombasa, to Ukunda, so that we can be able to rescue the kid. Fortunately or unfortunately, before the day came, they told us the signal has shifted. Now it is being seen around Kiuna, Westgate. How she handled the foster care makes us raise more alarm, because if you need to bring the kid after 1 month, and then after 1 month you don't pick the phone call, and you need to say we need to talk with your lawyer, we did not engage through your lawyer. We engaged through the children officer of who acts on behalf of Director of Children Services.
While all this was going on, Daisy had filed an application to the Children's Court on 22nd February 2017 seeking legal guardianship of baby Jonathan. But in the application, Daisy and her new lawyer, Danstan Omari, listed Jean Petit and Gadhoni Kirima as respondents, ignoring Mogra despite the fact that the children's home had legal custody at the time. A day later, Senior Resident Magistrate M.A. Utindo granted the orders appointing Daisy as interim guardian.
Considering that we were the legal custodian of the kid, and now the guardianship process is ongoing without our consent, without us knowing, we decided to do an appeal, probably to be enjoined in this ongoing, because this was an interim case, so that we can be enjoined to be an interested party, having the custodian being given by the court that we are the one having the commit of the child.
Mogra's appeal would later be thrown out and a restraining order issued against them. Daisy's husband, Matthew Sean Matsonchini, arrived in the country in March of 2017. Around the same time, the couple was preparing to apply for full guardianship. On March 13, 2017, the couple was back in court, Matthew filing an affidavit seeking full parental responsibility of the minor. 2 days later, their lawyer Omari filed an application asking the court to move with speed. The children's officer's report has been filed in court, he wrote. The children's officer's report is a crucial document in granting alternative family care. It is done by children's officers to ascertain the fitness of the prospective adoptive parents or guardians. But it is this report, dated 2nd March 2017 and admitted in court on 15th March, that has raised even more questions. First, it acknowledges Mogra as having custody of the child, but states that the child was committed there in 1998, but somehow At the time of the application in 2017, the minor was only 1 year and 2 months old. With this acknowledgement of custody at Mogra, the report ought to have been written by the Kasarani Sub-County Office, under whose jurisdiction Mogra falls, and not Kiambu. The report is written and signed by one Pauline Muya, supposedly a children's officer in Kiambu. NTV Investigates can authoritatively confirm that this individual has never been stationed at the Kiambu Sub-County Office. We have since established that she was in Limuru at the time, but is currently stationed at the head office. Notice how the signature appears to have been superimposed. Mogra would later write to Kiambu Children's Office asking if the report came from them. There was no response. Based on that report, which has since gone missing in the court records and other submissions, the same magistrate M.A. Otindo appointed Matthew and Daisy Matsonchini legal guardians of baby Jonathan on 4th of April 2017. Back to baby Edward. He stayed at New Life Home Trust for 7 months. In December 2014, he was declared free for adoption. It is a process that was aided by what appears to be deliberately inaccurate correspondence between the police, New Life Home Trust and Little Angels Network, the adoption society that placed the minor to the Kenyan couple. Section 159(1)(a) of the Children's Act dictates that abandonment may be presumed if the child appears to have been abandoned at birth and if the institution having care of the child has not seen or heard from the parent or guardian for at least 6 months. In this police letter to New Life Home Trust, signed by Inspector Lydia Mambo on behalf of the OCS Kilimani, dated 19th May 2014, she writes, "The above-named boy was found abandoned at Kibera, Soweto and rescued by a Good Samaritan who reported to Kilimani Police Station via OB 91 1805 2014. Kindly continue giving care as we carry out investigations into the whereabouts of the mother." 6 months later, on 21st November 2014, OCS Bernard Kenyatta wrote another letter. The above-named baby was found by a Good Samaritan at Kibera, Soweto, who reported to Kilimani Police Station via OB 91 1805 2014. Efforts to trace the parents have proved fruitless and no claims have been made to date. May you accord the child the best he deserves. These letters appear to have been crafted to meet the above legal requirements, subsequently leading to the declaration of baby Edward free for adoption. Only they were inaccurate. The baby was not abandoned, rather was in the company of the mother when she was arrested, and the police officers knew only too well her whereabouts. After 2 years of a court battle between Kawira against the adoptive parents, New Life Home Trust and Little Angels Network, in which her fitness and the best interest of the child were raised, the court ruled in favor of the respondents, granting Charles Omanga and Washeke Nduati legal adoption of baby Edward. But a day later, the Child Welfare Society of Kenya, which was enjoined in the case as an interested party, sponsored a petition to a lower court by baby Edward's grandfather Mngiti Mutiga and Kawira as the respondent, but without the legal adoptive parents. The grandfather, Mutiga, wanted guardianship of the baby. Their prayers were granted in record time. The minor would be taken back by the state a year after that order and reunited with the grandparents.
And that concludes just the first part of our special feature tonight, Court to Court. That is also the hashtag Court to Court. And we already have a few thoughts on the story coming in. We have Frederick Horace, who says very unprofessional of the DCI Kenya detectives to force their way into someone's home without a court order and without them identifying themselves to the couples or parents. We wonder why ordinary Wananchi never want to deal and help. We have Sue, who says the challenge with adoption is that in the event the biological parent, either mother or father, puts a claim on wanting their child back, the state has to give back the child to its parents. It doesn't matter how much you invested in the baby. And Dennis Kiplimo says, how can these kids be forcefully taken away from their rightful guardians without a court order? You can imagine the psychological trauma that these kids have been subjected to. I still insist that Kenyan adoption laws be revised. Again, the hashtag is court to court. You can share your views, share your thoughts on the special feature using the hashtag court to court. We come back with part 2 of Edmond Yabola's special.
Oh, you've got me on my knees. Yeah, I'm begging, baby, please.
48 megapixel Oppo F11 Pro. Brilliant portrait in low light.
The aerial guarantee.
Asante sana. Sasa, ni nini kingine ambacho unaweza kumfanyia msichana wetu?
Kila kitu. Hata kufua nguo na aerial mpya.
Basi, tuonyeshe.
Sasa fanya haya madoa yawe sugu zaidi. Sasa tufue kwa kutumia sabuni yako na kutumia Ariel mpya. Ariel sasa inapatikana kwenye pakiti mpya.
Ariel huondoa madoa sugu kwa mwosho mmoja. Jaribu leo ndio uamini au urudishiwe pesa zako.
Did you know that omega-3 and vitamin D have benefits for our bodies? Try 7C's cod liver oil. The liquid fuel capsule contains omega-3 to support heart, brain, and vision, and vitamin D to support strong bones and the immune system. Try 7C's today.
When the spirit of Kenya got going that magical day, it never looked back. And now, the same spirit is ready to take Kenya to the next level. Led proudly by a new generation. Kenya King, Shangilia, Hustler Kenya.
Did you know that Downy Concentrate softens and freshens 2.5 more clothes per litre than the leading fabric softener? It's more concentrated, so use only 1/3 of a cap.
Kazi ni kazi.
Lilian, Waboi, Wadegwa. Yes. Si unamwambia ulikuwa unataka kumkamua. Si ni ng'ombe na maziwa.
Wewe kwenda huko umesota mpaka unakulanga ugali na story tu za nyama.
Imagine as well just have a chongora competition over there and make it a reality show.
Whatever is mine before marriage remains mine.
Hana kitu so hata ana haja kuisize. Sere.
Tea. Unacheki udem. Hata nchiki mwa Kenya kidogo.
Have you made your decision?
Ai madam. Kunyota nayo.
Fundi ndo sisi. Kazi ni kazi.
Creates a virtuous cycle where the economic wealth that is created benefits the community, which raises the level of education, which raises the local resources, which creates even more wealth in the future.
What are the odds your ex joins the game just when you and your catch are getting it on? What are the odds your wife shows up just as you're trying to level it up? And now, what are the odds your father-in-law comes in just before full time between your wife, your ex, and your catch? Get all the odds and a lot more on Betika. Better betting for bettors.
When it comes to pimple care, Acne's Creamy Wash contains multiple vitamins and removes excessive oil and dirt. Acne's Toner rejuvenates skin. Acne's Sealing Gel fights bacteria. Use Mentholatum Acne's for clear and smooth skin every day.
Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Part 2 of Court to Court comes right next.
NTV Investigates has obtained reports alleging that New Life Home Trust and Little Angels Network could have been complicit in the suspected cover-up with the police to ensure the child was free for adoption. Section 177(7)(d) of the Children's Act dictates that where the child appears to have been abandoned, adoption societies and children's homes must ensure that as far as possible they take necessary steps to trace the parents or relatives of the child. Section 158 requires consent on the part of a parent or guardian before the child is placed for adoption. And so we went to New Life Home Trust seeking their response to this.
Can you tell the receptionist that I'm just here to follow up on a case? I was here last week. Na wakaniambia niandike email, which I did. Sasa nimekuja tu kufuatilia. I just need to talk to them. The receptionist can remember me, and she knows who I spoke to, 2 ladies. Amesema hapana, usitufungulie, utukataze kuingia. Sawa, it's okay. Sawa. All right. Thank you. We have been denied access into New Life Home Trust. We are being told that they cannot speak to us. We came here 1 week ago and requested for an interview, for an interrogation with them to understand what happened with this specific minor. And they told us to write an email to them requesting for that interview, which we did. 1 week later, they haven't responded. That's why we came here to follow up on that. We've been denied access. They're saying we cannot be allowed to go in there and they cannot speak to us. Now they've given me the contact for their lawyer to talk to them.
Little Angels Network, however, agreed to an interview. They have maintained that they acted above board in handling the adoption case of baby Edward.
The court established last year that the adoption agency acted legally and that the adoptions were actually being done properly in adherence to the legal provisions. So I'd say it's regrettable that we got to where we got.
You are required to do anything possible to reunite the child with the biological parents, and this involves then family tracing in that case. Why did you not do that?
We did our tracing based on the information that was provided. There was an OB number, so what we do is we will go to the police station and peruse the OB record to see what it states, and in most cases what we're looking out for is any further information. This is the OB that we worked on.
Yes, it says there, I, Inspector Pauline Tundu, do now hand over the child 2 weeks old whose mother is in custody under the instructions of Inspector Mambo to New Life Home Trust. That's the one you told me you saw last time.
Yes.
Which it also says clearly that the mother is in custody.
You see, when the mother is in custody, we do not know the mother is in custody for what. Because there's a police letter. You need to read this OB together with the letter from the OCS Kilimani. Yes. You know, you cannot read one document in isolation.
But before this, you told me you did not know the mother existed.
No, we did not know the mother existed.
And upon looking at this, surely this was some good information you could have acted on.
Edmond, what we receive is police letters. The police letters, and based on the police letters, we send out our social workers to go and do further investigations based on the letters that we have. So this is the OB that we perused. And based on this, actually, I can tell you, we actually try to follow up. Is there any more information? And eventually the letter, there's no contact there. Maybe I should throw the question back to you. If you're given such a letter, how would you trace the mother?
I'd ask the police, because if it says custody, it says then that the person is under police. You should have seen this if you looked at the OB records.
That was not in the OB record. I think in this case, the confusing thing is that there were 2 OB records. So we can only follow based on the OB number provided to us. A later OB number is introduced in court when the matter is now attracted court attention. Then we get a new OB number. In fact, this strange OB number that you have is not referred to in any of the police letters. If you look at the police letters signed by the OCS none of them refers to this strange OB number.
But both OB records indicate clearly that the mother was in custody, and the police letters Little Angels refers to both reflect OB number 91 of 18th May 2014.
Well, I'm not able to comment further about that because...
Yes, then does that mean that the police gave you records that did not, reflect the
I
actual
wouldn't
state of
blame
affairs?
the police. I wouldn't state anything.
You're not
like
blaming
that.
them. Would you just say that what they gave you was not the exact information? Then in that case, because if this came to light at some
We peruse the OB.
a mother was claiming her child back and all of that, you still considered from a moral point of view that the best thing for you to do was give out the child for adoption?
Edmond, I think you're misquoting me. I've just reported, I've just said it clearly that our position, which has always been our position on every matter that we handle, that the biological family is the best placed family for any child to grow in. So we have no intention whatsoever to take a child whose mother is out there and place them in adoption.
But that's what happened.
This may have happened based on the records that we have. We showed the court clearly the processes that we went through to declare the child free for adoption. And our position, even when I took the stand, you can read my evidence in court, it was very clear that if the court establishes, the matter was already in court. Yeah, if the court establishes that one, she is the mother, that was done through the DNA, the two, she is fit. And then the third thing that we said clearly is that the child be reunified if the court so determines that it's in the best interest of the child.
Coverings, the women are wearing scarves, some of the men are wearing hats and visors.
Back to the Matsonchinis, baby Jonathan's guardians. The couple has filed an application in court wanting the state to produce the minor. They have also sponsored a spirited online and media campaign to push the state to give back baby Jonathan.
I don't understand why this is happening because we haven't done anything wrong and we just love him. We love our son. That's it. We just want the best for him. And please remember, this is a child that was thrown away in a garbage bag. He wouldn't be here today.
We filed an application based on the direction that our advocate gave us, and we believed that we were, and still believe that we are, in full compliance with the Kenyan law.
And that we've been granted it based on merit.
There was a report, an assessment report that was done by a children's officer who supposedly was named Pauline Muya. I'm not sure I don't know if you're aware of this, because this report actually involves you, so I might imagine that you are aware of it. That then was provided in court, upon which the court ruled in your favor.
I've never heard of the officer that you're saying, and we are not privy to any reports. We're not allowed to see any reports.
They gave a report concerning you to the court, which the authorities believe was falsified.
This is crazy. I mean, this is like, who wrote this report? I've never heard of this person.
We can say really clearly that we're not privy to any documents from the Children's Department, and that, as I'm sure, is part of the Kenyan law.
Their lawyer, Dunstan Omari, himself a former children's officer, was not available for an interview after several requests. It is in the process that we realized that in the wake of the emerging events, the couple had fired Omari.
There was a point in which you wanted to take the baby out of the country, supposedly for medical attention. Can you tell me something about that?
We basically sought leave of the court because we had a medical report, at this point many medical reports from many medical facilities saying that he would benefit from being seen by a specialist outside of Kenya.
In their application to the court to allow them fly baby Jonathan out of the country for specialized medical care, they attached several medical reports. As guardians, they were not allowed to leave the area of jurisdiction with the minor, coming at a time when the blanket ban on inter-country adoption was already in force. On 7th February 2018, Magistrate Otindo allowed the couple to travel with the minor on certain conditions. That their Kenyan employer undertakes that the couple will return with the minor. That they serve the court and the Kenyan embassy in the UK with the residence of the child while over there, and that the Kenyan embassy and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs be served with the orders for enforcement. but the couple opted not to travel in spite of getting leave of the court.
That they needed to essentially indemnify that we would return with the child. The issue became that I don't have a Kenyan employer, and neither does Daisy, and so there was no one to indemnify. And when we went to basically get we had someone take a look and see whether or not it would be a problem to apply for a visa. We were told, look, unless you can comply 100% with this provision, which it doesn't sound like you can't, don't apply, because if you're rejected for a visa, it becomes very hard to get one in the future.
They later wrote to Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Okari Atani, asking for special consideration to allow them fly the child to the UK. Instead, the CS constituted an advisory committee chaired by one Ngei Mutinda to look into the case. The report highlights irregularities in the process of acquiring guardianship and, alarmingly, that the child could have been a victim of trafficking in the process of flying him out. The recommendations included the withdrawal of the child from the couple and subsequent placement with the Child Welfare Society of Kenya, that a medical assessment be done on the child to ascertain his health status, that the Child Welfare Society conduct a thorough family tracing exercise in an effort to preserve his birth family, and that the DCI investigate Bishop Gathoni Kirima, the lady who introduced Daisy to the child in 2016. It is this 13th December 2018 report that informed the rescue operation at the Matsonchini on 5th April 2019. NTV has also obtained medical assessment reports on the baby conducted at the Kenyatta National Hospital, Nairobi Hospital, and a neurology center. They have given the child a clean bill of health, contradicting the reports by the couple. We have also learned that authorities are investigating the couple further. The areas of interest include this website, supposedly opened by the couple to raise over 3 million shillings for adoption. At Baby Edward's adoptive parents, the anxiety is palpable. Charles Omanga and his wife Washeke have maintained that they acted in good faith in the journey of acquiring custody of the minor.
Once the application is made and you're approved for the application, you have an interview where the home, I believe it's the home, now tells you who is available. They present certain documents to you, speaking about each child who is available at that time for you to see and see whether you will have a connection with and a bonding stage with, and then go ahead.
When you realize that there might have been certain flaws on the part of the children's home, the police, and the adoption agency that you worked with, what was your reaction?
It was during the case itself. That is when through affidavits, I think, that were presented in court, speaking to the other respondents and how the process had happened. That's when we started to learn about that entire process.
Have you been in contact with the New Life Home Trust and the adoption agency, Little Angels, to just try to get clarification on some of these concerns that are being raised about the issue of this child?
I think as adoptive parents, I think we've gone through where we started. Yeah, we cannot speak for anything that happened before. Yeah, we came, we found a child, we fell in love, the child was declared free for adoption, and we started our life together. Of course, the bonds that happen with the child when you start a life together, any parent has that bond with the child. So anything we've done is in relation to that bond.
It's very difficult for us to question the people who are entrusted to make those decisions. I think, do we ask ourselves alone, could there? We do.
What I think is coming about that concerns you is a moral obligation that at the point in which the court proceedings, where the mother was, and you knew that the mother wanted her child back, but you insisted on keeping the child.
Given that we didn't know this information and we were the ones who were called into a court process, Our assumption is also that it is the same court that will be able to go through the due diligence and research and understanding of this matter to determine what is in the best interest of our child.
But when you realize that the mother was available and wanted back the child, and that the law even guards her rights to actually get back the child, why did you not feel that it was the moral thing to do for you was give back?
If you read those court documents about the state of mind, it points in a very different direction. And we did have that moral discussion in our own home, because we understood exactly the gravity of what was going on.
We gave testimony, the biological mother did give testimony, and the court determined, as you've seen in the documents, that, and even in the same act, they do say that, but they only say it's paramount that they take the best interest of the child. The court determined it was the best interest of the child to remain in our custody.
What have you done since? Have you sought any legal recourse?
In our highly emotive state, we went to court. Upon realizing that won't bring him back, upon realizing that it's going to be another process, another 3-4 year process of determining issues and items about what other people didn't do or did, etc., we realized that can't be our journey anymore. And we withdrew that case, and we withdrew that application. What we're trying to do, as we're saying here, this has to be about families. It has to be about where it should have started, with a conversation with us as parents saying, can we mediate a situation here? Is there a space for co-parenting? Is there a space that he does not have to know black or white? Our son will only heal if we ourselves as humans, as these two families, heal. Whether it's state-led or whether it is even human-led, elder-led, church-led, prayer-led, that's where we want to go.
As the child, and the child has to be given that privacy. When you talk about
The government insists that it acted in good faith and for nothing but the safety of the two children.
when circumstances raise a lot of questions, a lot of doubts about your sincerity, about the processes that was followed, when maybe certain documents that were used, cast doubts. So the first thing to do is just to make sure that the child is safe. Then we argue the matter in court.
The manner in which the rescue operations were carried out, in terms of police officers storming into houses with the guns, in some cases, and snatching the child or the children away, the kind of psychological disturbance that caused. What is your reaction to that? Do you think that was the best approach?
When the police made that decision, it must be informed on the basis of an imminent, situations that will not have even reversed. But I will leave it to them.
Many people might argue that yes, there might have been flaws, but these people got these children and built a bond with them. These children have known them throughout their lives, and then now they're being plucked and taken elsewhere. That sort of causes some sort of psychological disturbance on the part of the child and the parents even.
The child is taken away from the child without her knowledge and then given to a stranger. And the stranger now develops relationship with the child. Because the child does not have capacity to know whether this is the mother or the other one is the mother. Biologically, through examination, you are able to test the DNA that this is the mother. And if there are doubts on her ability to raise this child, she has relatives, she comes from a society that is willing to give that support. So that is period. I don't think there's even much discussion that needs to be done. When we are dealing with foreign nationals, whether this child has a parent or not, and there's a moratorium in place which was informed by very disturbing reports. So when there's this in force, how do you sneak away, how do you attempt to take away the child out of the country? This is a Kenyan child. We cannot guarantee safety of a Kenyan child outside this boundary.
The High Court did allow them to adopt the child, but
orders were gotten from a lower court by the Child Welfare Society, which is sort of in subordination to some extent, that then gave the child back to their kin.
If the mother of this child is traced, and the child has already been surrendered for adoption under care of another parent, and the mother is there, and she is willing to support, to take away the child, who can deny? Will the person denying, operates under which kind of environment? You deny the love of a mother, take away the child from the mother against her will, that cannot arise. It should not be allowed. It is inhuman.
What if the mother was found to be unfit?
Well, you know, but that does not guarantee. There are a lot of other options. That child can be placed under, a relative. The law provides for that guardianship. It provides for foster care. But how do you now bypass the mother, the relatives who are willing, even including the grandfather who was willing, to take care of the child and grow? You deny all this, and you say, no, this child is better placed, given to a stranger, to be a child of a stranger. That should not be allowed.
That then justifies the issue of getting orders from lower courts?
Well, I will not go into those specific issues, but I want to tell you that whether the order was gotten from a higher court and it raises doubts, it must be challenged.
Some of the failures are from the system. You're talking about the police, you're talking about the lawyers, you're talking about the courts, you're talking about even the Department of Children's Services, that then result in children being taken back from parents who perhaps might not have committed any faults.
Unfortunately, there are also cartels in systems. And there are also instances where we are being informed that there are collusion between some of our children officers and some police. But internally, we have done an audit of our own system, and we know where the problem is, and we are addressing that strongly.
These two cases that we're having right now, if there's some sort of criminal culpability, why haven't we had any convictions or arrests?
Our role is to make sure that those loopholes are filled, so that the system is foolproof. And anybody in between who wants to tamper with the system, whether they're children officers or lawyers, must be dealt with.
The government says it is working towards deinstitutionalizing children. Currently, there are over 850 children's homes in the country with up to 42,000 children. There are also 6 adoption societies licensed to place children for alternative care. The government agency Child Welfare Society of Kenya has not been carrying out its adoption mandate. For babies Jonathan and Edward, they might have been oblivious of the events that have left them oscillated from the baby court to the court of law, but it will certainly have a lasting imprint on their lives. Edmond Nyabola, NTV investigates.
Do share your thoughts on that special investigative piece by Edmond Nyabola. The hashtag is court to court. He's concluded part 2 of that special, but we have some feedback that's already come in. We have Honorable Kipkemoi Chumba Nicholas, who says some homes are using the name adoption in the wrong ways in order to make money, indirectly child trafficking. Those people must make sure they follow the due processes that are in place for such acts to take place. We have Ngugi Matthew, who says the Kenyan law on child adoption has so many loopholes. We have Simon Njuguna, who says it is so disappointing that this kind of a story happens in Kenya, but it clearly shows how our judicial system is corrupt. Lawyers and even selfish Kenyans who want to make quick money at the expense of their parents. Shame, shame. In the US, you would be jailed and deported. And finally, Richard Carrera says it's clear that some people are capitalizing on child adoption to make quick and dirty money. Those are their views. What are yours? We take a short break on that note.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, let's look at part of what is in this week's news diary very quickly. And the fate of one of President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy projects, the provision of affordable housing, will be litigated at the Employment and Labour Relations Court tomorrow. At stake is whether the government should go ahead to deduct 1.5% from the gross salary of employees in the formal sector towards a housing levy fund. Also, 2 senior KRA officers will be taken to court tomorrow in a tax evasion scandal that has hit the tax collector. Joab Omole, who was arrested at Times Tower when DCI detectives raided his 4th-floor office last Thursday, and also another senior officer, Brenda Ondieki, who works at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, was arrested at customs. 30 officers are still being sought by the DCI. The case is still ongoing. Over to the gold scam. Also this week, the case of Jared Otieno, who was arrested on Wednesday over a fake gold syndicate, will be mentioned this week after police asked for 7 days to complete their investigations. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta is also expected to showcase the affordable housing program to potential investors attending a 5-day inaugural UN Human Settlement Conference at Gigiri, Nairobi this week. About 3,000 delegates representing governments, private sector, civil society from 170 countries are expected to be attending. Also, tomorrow is World Metrology Day. Now, in case you're wondering what that is, it is the study of measurement. The Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, will be commemorating the day with a stakeholder event at KEBS headquarters, and the CS of Trade is going to be there.
We now come to my favorite part of the weekend edition, and that is Instant Intel. Now, a South African man was clearly not in his right mind this weekend when he drop-kicked the man best known for his role in The Terminator and his guns. If you haven't figured that out yet, we're talking about the former California governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, Schwarzenegger was recording a video on his Snapchat at his Arnold...
welcome and let's get into the world of sport. I'm Ida Waringa. Now, AFC Leopards produced a series of defensive blunders in the Mashemeji Derby to all but hand Gor Mahia their third Kenyan Premier League title on the trot after going down 3-1 to the defending champions. Now, let's have a look at more from what was a packed Sunday of local football.
The Mashemeji Derby excitement at the Moi International Sports Complex Kasarani was palpable. Gor Mahia's Nicholas Kipkirui opened the scoring in the 24th minute to give the fans something to cheer. The game would go into the break with Gor 1-0 up. It would open up again after the 60th minute mark, Kipkirui doubling his tally before Jacques Tuisenge netted in the 64th to extend the lead. Vincent Burrows scored a late consolation for Leopards in the 86th. Gor Mahia need just 1 point from the remaining 3 matches to be crowned champions for a third consecutive season, yet the title race could be done and dusted by Wednesday should Bandari FC fail to win against Mathare United.
It's still another 3 games to go. It's still another until last game. You know, if we win next game, still last game. I have to respect the other teams, the other coaches.
Performance si mbaya. Ukiona ukilinganisha na game tumefungwa msimu wa kwanza, tofauti na hii second round.
Meanwhile, in Mombasa, goals from Shaban Kenga, Abdallah Hassan and William Wadri were on target for Bandari as the Dockers cruised past Zuka Richo 3-0 at Meraki Sports Club in Mombasa. Bandari remains second on 61 points, while Zoo are 16th on 28. In the day's other games, Western Stima and Mathare drew blanks at the Moi Stadium in Kisumu. Tusker FC edged Vihiga United 2-1 away at Mumias, and Chemelil Sugar were unable to make home advantage count as they drew 0-0 with Unlinzi Stars.
Some volleyball now in the national women's volleyball team. Malkia Strikers got their Zone 5 All-Africa Games qualifiers off to a positive start, beating Rwanda in straight sets. Malkia saw off the Rwandese 25-10, 25-17 and 25-10 again. Now the tournament will run through to May 24th at the Lugogo Indoor Arena in Uganda, where Kenya will next take on Ethiopia on Monday at 6 p.m. before playing Uganda in their last fixture of the regional tournament. Malkia's longtime rivals Egypt were one of several teams that pulled out of the competition at the last minute, citing Ramadan. Kenya will be competing for the single ticket that will guarantee them qualification to the Continental Championship.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the class.
We have to work a lot more towards the other team. We're not done. That's just the start. So now we have to work on many things, short term and long term.
So far, so good. We started well. Our first match in the qualifiers of the Olympics. We played very well. I think the backcourt worked very well for us. The blocks and the attack, the services were fantastic, and that made us win easily.
Nation Media Group's football team scored 3 first-half goals to sink Laikipia County Government 3-1 in a friendly match at the Nanyuki Stadium. A double by Jeff Lidavu and a 27th minute strike by NTV cameraman Eric Isinta ensured the big win for Nation FC. The hosts scored their only goal through Joseph Gidinji in the match watched by Nation Media Group CEO Stephen Gitagama, Laikipia Governor Ndiritu Mureithi, NMG Head of Corporate and Regulatory Affairs Clifford Mashoka, and Laikipia County government officials. The match was part of Nation FC's countrywide tour with priority on interaction with NMG's clients. Nation FC will tour Mombasa and Malindi in July before visiting Uasin Gishu and Elgeyo Marakwet counties in September.
In Mombasa, I'll be there also. We'll facilitate. Eldoret, the same thing, will facilitate. Yeah. So, guys, it is for your own benefit and also for the benefit of this company that you are physically fit.
We want a rematch. We want a rematch. But asiyekumbali kushindwa si mshindani. And well done, nation team.
I'm contributing to the same cause, making a company be received better on the ground. And the feedback has been good so far.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well done.
What a goal and celebration by NTV cameraman Eric Isn't there. Congratulations to them. Still on football, but matters international now. And Vincent Kompany will be leaving Manchester City after helping the Premier League club win the domestic treble of Premier League, FA Cup and EFL Cup. The 33-year-old announced the news in an open letter to fans on his Facebook. Coach in another life.
I was a team manager of basketball when I was in high school. I was a forward.
I'm not sure I believe you, but did you know that today was Celebrate Your Elected Leaders Day?
What?
Yes, celebrate your election. I know MPs may not get too many goodwill messages on account of the housing allowance, but who would you celebrate?
Well, is it part of Forgotten Holidays?
Yes. It is.
Let's just forget.
Forgotten holiday.
Yeah, let's just forget. Our sign language presenter tonight was David Agondwan. My name is Dennis Okari.
That was Colt, and I'm Olive Burrows. Thank you for staying with us.